Kelly, we're live.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm typing.
Um, Kelly is fresh off a Spanish lesson, and I'm kind of jealous. I almost wish I was taking this Spanish lesson with you.
Do you want to join?
Is that an option?
You could join.
Jeez.
I mean, it's Spanish. It's like Castilian Spanish. So I don't know if that's.
I mean, it's cool Spanish. My
It is
my
cool
father's from
Spanish.
Colombia, and Colombians are very like proper with the way that they speak. I want to see how close and like it is to the Castilian way of speaking.
I think we're more artistic here.
Artistic, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got a little bit more flair. You got those. This. I don't know. It sounds a little suave. That's what I think. I mean, not when I say it, or not when I speak it. Okay.
There's so many different accents. Every even within Colombian Spanish, there's different accents. Like the Medellin people, they speak the Paisa. That's very like flowy and it sounds a little more like romantic.
You know what's interesting?
Bogota speak like very formally.
Huh. I've never been to Bogota, so I wouldn't know the difference. But I mean, I imagine if I went, I'd be like, this all sounds the same to me. You know, it's like before I started traveling, I was like, never would be able to tell the difference between Australian and New Zealand and maybe even like England, right? Like it was just all kind of a type, right? Which is embarrassing to say. But then when I started traveling, all of a sudden I could pick it up so quick. Now it all blends together. And I don't know it's like it came back to zero for me again.
Interesting.
I used to be able to pick up Dutch. Like if someone was Dutch, I was like Dutch immediately. Now I'm like, you could be from Serbia. You could be, I have no idea where you're from. Dutch is an accent that you just like is kind of, you don't hear it a lot in America, right? But a lot of Dutch people travel. So I like picked it up quickly. I didn't pick up Dutch, but the accent I picked up. But now I can't. It's weird. My ears just kind of.
It goes back if you don't like hear it. And it's definitely true with language too.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay. We're talking about a thing today.
Do you want me to talking about a thing?
What we're talking about?
Yeah. You go.
Okay. All right. So my husband forwarded me this article, and I read it, and it was very interesting. And it was from this guy who works for a company called Demand Curve, which is like startup growth stuff. And the article, or it was like an email, right? And it was about how he spent 7 years running a startup, like founding it, basically, right? And they raised money, they did all this stuff, and he did the math, and he basically said, here's what I made. Here was the total of my compensation over those 7 years, including my salary, benefits. I don't think he talked about benefits, investments, things like that, right? And what would I have come away with financially if I hadn't founded a startup and I just worked a job? And it was something like $1.5 million US difference over 7 years, or 2 million, something like that. It was like quite a bit of money. And, part of that was like, you have a 401k, you have an investment account when you have a job, often. And your employer in America will match up to some percentage of your salary, right? And so the difference in what he made was just like so vast from what he actually made and what he could have made. And so the article was kind of a provocative sort of, was this worth it type of question, right? And then he goes into what he would have done differently. Eventually his startup failed, and, he kind of had to start over. I don't know this guy. I don't know his story, but it was a really interesting read, I think. And I think worth talking about, because most of us who sort of are in the space that you and I are in kind of started building because we had an idea of our own, and we're like, I can make a business out of this, right? Now, I didn't ever have like startup dreams, I think a lot of people do. And so
I did.
You did, right?
I don't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's like some, he wasn't saying in the article that like you shouldn't do this thing. He basically was just saying there's a cost. What do you call that? An opportunity cost to doing this type of like going after this dream, right? So anyway, I was thinking that we could talk through there's a portion of the article where he talks about the specific things that he would do differently than he did. Kind of interesting. I don't know how this doesn't really, there's not much in this article that I'm like, yeah, me too, or that I have a strong opinion on. It's mostly just interesting being sort of on the outside of this experience, working with founders who are sort of putting everything into their dream, and sometimes looking at it and going like, oh no, you're just wasting this year working on this very stupid thing. That's never going to go anywhere.
I found this very relatable. I think for you, it's probably more for the people that you're like coaching and seeing them kind of go through this decision-making process without realizing like they're making a life choice here.
Yeah.
For me, I made that life choice. I was very like adamant about starting a startup and running my own business and blah, 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 blah. We've talked about this multiple times. So all of this stuff, like not all of it, but most of it really hit home for me. It's like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. That's what I was thinking. And some of this hindsight stuff that he talks about, I'm like, yes, 100% yes. So I think it's super relatable to just anyone who just has any aspiration to starting a business. It doesn't even have to be a startup, just starting any business.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think there's this added layer of like raising money that most typical businesses don't do. Right? Like, or it's much more prevalent or common in the startup space where you raise a bunch of money, and that he makes the point in the article, which I'm sure we'll get to, that like that's a false indicator of success that you have raised a big round of funding. That you can sort of tell yourself that like, oh, we're doing it, when in reality, like
in the startup world, there seems to be all of these like fake milestones that people are like trying to achieve, and they really don't mean that you're building a sustainable business at the end of the day. Everyone's going for that like $1 billion unicorn startup idea, but are you building a business,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you want to start with the article and or like the LinkedIn post, and then the hindsight we'll do.
Yeah, I guess let's read some of it, right? So we'll share the link to where did I put it? We'll share the link to his LinkedIn post, because what I'm actually reading from is an email, and I don't think that's published anywhere.
I have it up if you want me to pull up my LinkedIn.
That's fine. And I'll drop it in the chat here. Oh my God, that is a very long link. Okay. Oh, we both did it. Wait, did I do it? No, I'm posting as you.
You're posting as me again. I love that I can like post on your LinkedIn, like through StreamYard.
Really? Oh yeah.
You know that you get a post every time. That post comes from me, right? I haven't said anything crazy yet, but I can. I like that power.
Okay, I think I posted. I don't know if that link's going to work. Will you click it? Wait. I don't know if that's going to work.
I didn't see anything. I didn't see you post anything.
I
only got my. Oh wait, no, yes, you did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. It depends. Like it. I wouldn't worry about it. I think in StreamYard, it's like this isn't what other people are seeing. They're like seeing it on LinkedIn or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So they'll probably be able to click it.
Okay. A guy named Kevin DePapas, who knows? Wati's super famous, and we should know him. And everybody's like, don't you know him? Okay, so basically, I guess let's get to the money part. He spent 7.5 years. His average annual salary was $54,000 which, like, if you're not in the US, that's I would say in the sort of low to medium range of salary.
Depending on where you are in the country, living in New York City, that would be pretty. You'd be struggling if that's that was your whole income.
Yeah, you'd be struggling. You couldn't like have a family, it would be very difficult to sort of raise a family on that salary. And the opportunity cost was $1.2 million. So he talks about having been admitted to Techstars, which is a big accelerator thing. They raised $2.4 million over the 7.5 years. And they were making, well, it peaked at $50,000 MRR, which is not bad, right? Like, that's pretty good. I don't know what size team they ended up with or what they did or anything like that. But okay, if you can scroll down, this was really interesting. The first 2 years of his salary, he paid himself nothing. And then he went up to $50,000 a year for 2 years, $80K a year, and then $100,000 a year, just for half a year, it looks like. And then they, yeah. Which, like, if you got a job, probably, I'm guessing with his skills, you would start probably at $100,000 a year.
Right.
From the beginning, right? And then you would go up from there.
So the majority of the time he's making, well, 1 to 2 is 0, 50K per year. Yeah. 80K in years 5 and 6. So, like, yeah, I mean, I guess years 5 and 6 is when it starts to become, like, livable. You know, like, you're not like, you know, penny pinching and making sure that everything is super, like, all of your expenses are super low. But it's 5 years to get there. So you got to be prepared to be, like, poor for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know? And that's something I think a lot of people just won't trade off.
Well, right. And I think, like, here's my question here is, like, if they raised money, I think they didn't raise money for a while. I think they bootstrapped for a while and then they raised money. And maybe that's when he started paying himself. I'm not sure. But I'm never really sure, like, when you raise money, like, is there a playbook for what you're supposed to spend that money on? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think in most cases, I mean, from what I've heard, this is just my experiences. It's kind of like you're trusted by the investors to spend it, like, responsibly. I think you can put kind of agreements on. I'm sure there's, like, some cases where you put agreements in place on where to, like, how to allocate it. But I tend to think that it's not that specific in most. I think it's more like, yeah, we're kind of trusting you, the founders, to spend this as you see fit, with the goal of achieving, you know, whatever we decided is the goal here. So maybe it's complicated that for larger fundraising, or as you get into series A, B, C, you know, like, those rules become more stringent. But I mean, from what I've
maybe. I mean, I guess I'm just curious, like, how do founders decide what they are get paid? Do you know what I mean? Like, I was talking to a founder a couple years ago, and she had just raised a round, and she was talking to her lead investor, and she had not told her investors that she was traveling. She was nomadic. They believed she lived in San Francisco. And one of them was saying, you should pay yourself enough to live in that city. He thought she lived in that city. Like, you should pay yourself enough to live there and not be stressed out all the time, because you're going to run the company better if you are comfortable. Right.
That makes sense.
Like, it does make sense. And so I don't know what his strategy was. I have no idea. But there were a few comments on the LinkedIn post that were basically like, the lesson here is that, you know, startup founders should pay themselves more earlier, which, if you have funding, that seems to make sense. But if you don't have funding, well, you can't pay yourself money you don't have, right?
Yeah. You want to jump into the comments here? I mean, this is kind of what's the point? Like, what is the, you know, it's cool to know what these numbers are, but why did he post this to begin with? Like,
it's an ad. So
is it an ad?
Yeah. So he works for a company called Demand Curve that does, like, it sounds like coaching and stuff like that, programs for startup founders to help them with marketing and growth. And so he works for them, or he somehow is, I don't know, maybe he started it or something. But basically, they have some new program, and he's kind of pitching the program. Basically, I think he's saying, it is so hard, and it takes so long to figure it out and have success and like actually, like whatever, live the dream, that like you you basically need to like accelerate quicker, get some coaching, get some knowledge, whatever, to like know if this is worth it within like a year and a half or 2 years. That
And
was
he
my
offers a
understanding.
solution to kind of close that gap, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not sure. Growth 2.0 program. Okay. I mean, it's cool to know his story. He's kind of selling himself through his own story, which I think is a cool way to
Yeah.
do it. You know,
Sure.
it feels organic.
Yep.
But
I don't
like
mind
you
it.
said, we don't know this dude.
No.
But you know, it is interesting to know. And like what I take away from it is like, yeah, there's a huge trade-off to you know, like your lifestyle. Like your lifestyle is going to be,
Yeah.
you're going to be living minimally if you choose to take this path. So
Yeah. The other thing that I took away from it was like 7.5 years is a long time to be doing something that maybe isn't working. But he talks about in the longer article, like there's this post and then there's the longer article. He talks about in the longer article all these sort of indicators that there was success. So you are like, oh, we're doing it, and then you keep going for another 3 years or whatever. And but in reality, like it's not success. It's not actually success. So then you're just kind of extending the life of this thing that's going to die anyway.
dying slower,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You're just
that's
killing it
gotta be
slower.
a hard decision to navigate. You're like, oh man, the sunken cost thinking must be like super hard to do. Like, oh,
Oh my God.
well, I just wasted 5 years on this idea, and you
It's
know,
why I'm
like
still
keep
paying
going.
Bubble for Rote, my first Bubble app that I ever built. I have
Are you?
users, but
I was gonna say, I thought you had like a user base on that on
I
Rogue.
have a small, very small user base, but like they don't actively use it. Like they'll pop in and use it, and I'm like, it's not worth the money that I'm paying it for it, but like it just is still emotional. It still feels like, but it could, it could, I didn't really give it a shot. I didn't really, really like, yeah, it's hard to quit something.
I feel exactly the opposite of that. When I decide like I don't want to do this anymore, like I am cut everything off. So
Mm.
the first startup idea that I had, it was like once I decided, yeah, I'm not working on this anymore, I had no hesitation about like this is never going to accidentally be a success. Like I think that's what I had in my head. Like
Mm.
I either can choose to put more work into this thing and maybe it will grow into something, or I can just like it's not just gonna like blow up on its own. And at that point, I was like, I don't want to be anywhere near the HR space, so I'm done. Goodbye.
Your startup was in the HR space. I always forget that.
Yeah, it was like the flexible compensation tool that I was trying to build for companies. So
Right.
I was yeah, but once that was over, I mean, I was done. So do you want to look at some of these? Is there anything
Yeah.
interesting in these comments, Kelly? Or
No, I mean,
no? Okay. All right.
no.
Let's jump into the what I do
Yeah.
differently stuff with hindsight. I think this is the most interesting part
Yeah.
because this is the stuff that resonated to me. I do feel like in that short month, I would say, or that short, it felt like a long time because I was thinking about the idea for 3 or 4 years and making very little progress in that time. It was only until the last 9 months of it that I really like went all in, quit my job, and like started to actively work on this thing full time. So I only really gave myself 9 months. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's a lot of time or a little bit of time in terms of like validating a startup idea. I don't know. But that is all I allotted myself to like, or all it really took me to be like, this is not working. I'm moving on to something else. And that other thing
Mhm.
was bartending at the time. But, so I haven't had a startup idea that I really wanted to pursue since. So let's look at this what I do differently thing.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so the first one, learn on someone else's dime. This really actually resonated with me because this is what I did at Swapstack. I realized after I had been there for a couple months, I was like, this is a college degree and they're paying me, you know? So basically he's talking about instead of just diving in to founding something, he would have, if he had it to do over again, he would get a job at a startup and like learn a bunch of stuff, learn what not to do, what to do, how it all works, and just like soak up that knowledge. I think he's talking about something else here.
This is the thing that really hit home for me. Who knows? Joining another startup may have even scratched the entrepreneurial itch enough that I wouldn't feel the urge to start my own company. Yeah. This is exactly what happened for me. I thought I wanted to run a business. I didn't really want to run a business. I wanted to be on the ground floor of something that's new and exciting, and like I can contribute to this team that is building something. Now, I don't want to run the business. Maybe I could figure out like what to do but I am not a hype person. I am not like a get on the stage and talk about this shit every day. I'll blow my fucking brains out if I have to do that, because it's not my skill set. It's just not like I'm not a how do you call it? Not a visionary, but like an excited I can't explain the like a hype person. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say like compelling. I think you're a compelling person, but I would be surprised to find you really like selling something and feeling committed, like he's committed to that, you know?
Every day, like the same thing every day. I can't think of a faster way for me to not be happy.
Yeah.
Thank you for knowing me enough to say that. It's just not my thing. I can't do it. I'm a behind the scenes type person. In fact, that we're even doing this live stream is like a lot for me, because like I'm usually I'm not used to being in the spotlight like that, but that is what's required. You're the CEO. You have to be talking about your product all the time, selling all the time.
Unless you have a co-founder and that's their job and your job is like the tech, right? I mean, there are different roles in an early stage in any business, but if you're founding it on your own, then yeah, you have to do all that.
True. And also like it will default to that. Like say there's not a person to do that thing where you're pushing the business forward, constantly selling. Who is that going to fall on? It's not like you can outsource that to like you're the face. You're the face.
Right.
So
yeah.
Oh no, thank you. So I think the part that I say the entrepreneurial itch, it's like this scratches it for me, because where I am now, it still feels like we're figuring it out and building a startup together. It's exciting to be on a team. But do the things that I did for the first startup idea that I have and what I did for freelancing, because that is kind of like being your own business and running yourself. It's a service. It's not a startup, but it's a service that you're offering. I never want to do those things again. I learned so much about what I do not want to do by doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching the guys, Jake and Jake at Swapstack, and just going like, I don't know, they're like, they seemed happy, like, but they were doing things that were very aligned with their skills and their, how they like to spend their energy. Right. And like, for me, I think it did kill that. I never really had the itch. Right. I was like, my idea is good. So like, it would make money. And then I realized what actually goes into that. Like the level of, they were very thoughtful and very sort of like meticulous and planful. And they weren't like doing weird stuff, or like off the cuff kind of bizarro things. Right. And I just was like, oh, I think I'm too impulsive. Like I like to make decisions based on my feelings. And I don't think that would work. And unless your feelings are like very attuned to reality, which like I don't think mine were, at the time. But yeah, I do think, and I do think there's a distinction between like a startup and an early stage startup, like really early, where it's like, I think I was the third person, the first person they hired, I think. I might be wrong about that. There was another guy, Mo, who came on around the same time as me, and he was doing marketing stuff and I was doing dev stuff, obviously. And so like everything was scrappy and everything was like, I think that phase of a startup's life is a really good thing to witness if you are thinking about starting something yourself, because like that's going to be what it is. They had raised money though, which was the difference. And I was like, I was gonna bootstrap. So
Right.
it was a different thing, but it still looked really fucking hard, you know, even with some money in the bank.
So something that the CEO of my company says a lot, and I think it's very insightful to people who want to be in the startup space, is that the average tenure at a startup is like 1 year. Like you're only going to be at this place for 1 year, and your job is going to change every 2 years. So like whatever we hired you for, the need for that is going to change inside 2 years, which for me is a dream because looking back, so I had to do this. I had to look back and look at the cycle of my career
Yeah.
and the jobs, and I came to a conclusion that I get bored at my job every 2 years. I start looking.
Really?
It's a
Really
very
weird.
predictable cycle. I had to go back and really think about each job that I had, and it was fascinating when I did this because I'm like, I do the same shit over and over again. So okay, so the first 6 months I spend anxious and learning everything that I can about the job, just like doing
Freaking out.
everything. Yes, exactly. I'm always freaked out. At the 6 month mark, I start like optimizing things. Like I start, okay, I got the hang of the job, and like now I'm starting to like get good at this. The third leg, which is like the next 6 months, like into year 2 now, I automate myself out of a job. I literally like just like I can do it so fast that that it's like I don't need the same hours that I needed to get this job done. And then the fourth leg, I'm looking for something else. Like the last 6 months of whatever job I'm in, I'm looking for a new job, or I'm so bored that I can't bear to bring myself to do this anymore. And that is just a very predictable cycle that I've done in every job. And you can see it, like literally you can see it on my LinkedIn thing. You can see like my job changes every 2 years. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Interesting.
So I kind of told that so I think the reason that I'm happy here being an employee of a startup and not a founder is that this job is going to change again. Like the first 2 years was me being straight engineering work and just like pumping out features and responding to tickets and all that stuff. Now it's moving into a product role. It's a whole new area that that I have to learn now. I have to like read books and stuff. That's exciting for me. So 2 years is my like deadline to like figure out what the next thing that I want to do. So
That's perfect,
we'll see how
then.
long this goes. Yeah. But to your point, you just said something very smart. It was like, yeah, but the startup, like, I forgot what you said. Damn it.
I was saying early stage is more of an indicator of what it would actually be like to found something.
And that's going to change, right? Like eventually, if we keep going in this company, it's going to stabilize, and my job is not going to change every 2 years. And then I have to figure out, like, all right, what is it that what am I contributing to this place now? You know, so like that, even this cycle of where I am right now is going to change. So that's
it's really good. I think as the company grows, then like jobs get more specialized, right? And you need people who've been doing that thing for a while and know how to do it. And the bigger and bigger the company gets, you need like really experienced specialized people. Whereas like I'm much more of a generalist. I've always been like a person who just kind of does a bunch of stuff in every job I've ever been in, right? So I think I would not necessarily, I think like it would depend on the role, right? Like some roles are going to encompass more things, right? Than if you're like an engineer, you're probably going to be building most of the day. Or if you're like education, well, you're teaching or you're coming up with curriculum or whatever. But like, yeah, I think like for me, it would be either early stage, which honestly just sounds exhausting, you know, at this point in my life, or a broader position within a larger startup that kind of touches a bunch of different things. In case anyone's wondering what I want for a job, that's what
I'm wondering that. So like when you say early stage, like early stage employee or early stage founder? Like do you want
early stage,
own the
like,
business?
Very small. I always wanted to work in a very small company. Like I knew from my very first job that I couldn't work at couldn't at the time. Like I didn't want to work at a place with more than 10 people because I want to have an impact. That's the value that I get for myself out of a job is that I can see my work having an impact on the organization, shifting and growing and changing, right? And so I've always been drawn to really small teams. I don't think that's true anymore for me. I think I would be interested in, I think I'm curious about how like a larger business works, but I would never want to work for like Amazon or like a big startup, you know? I don't think I'm qualified for that because like I don't have a narrow enough skill set, you know? So
you're happy in the generalist space.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
And where that's really valuable, to your point is like in an early stage startup, kind of like seeing, does this thing even have traction? We have a little bit of traction,
Well,
like what can we do differently?
it's just the fact that you end up doing a lot of different things. Now, my role at SwapStack was like strictly engineering, right? I mean, I did do like user interviews and, you know, I wouldn't say I did any kind of strategy, but I was a part of those conversations, right? So I was in a lot of the meetings just because we were a tiny team and they were like, what do you think? You know, and so I got to kind of like come up with what I thought, which was cool. You know, it's cool. And you are just privy to a lot more. You're in more of the conversations. You just learn a lot more. I learned so much, right? Whereas if you're in a bigger company, like things are more siloed. You're not going to be in the, you know, strategy meetings. You're just not, unless you're on the strategy team. That's a thing, you know. But yeah, I don't think that right now I'm interested in a small startup. I think I've kind of shifted a bit. I think I'm more interested in like learning how a different type of company, a different level and size of company works, but also like it's you know, after you've been in the workforce for a while and like I've shifted drastically the work that I've done over the years. Like now I have a really broad, weird skill set, which is common. That weird is common now, I think. You know, I don't think I'm unique in that, but that actually could like fit nicely into a startup at a certain stage that needs someone who can do the things that I can do.
Understood. Yeah. All right. Solve a problem that you've actually lived. Do we read this? Do we read this out loud?
Yeah. So basically, he's talking about how the startup that he founded was his brother's problem. His brother was some kind of doctor, I think, or something like that. He was in med school, and so they were solving a problem for med students or doctors or something like that, right? But he himself, the guy writing this, was not that in that position. His brother was, and so he was one step away from the problem. And he couldn't really understand it. He thought he understood it, but like he just really couldn't, you know, which is so interesting because I think, you know, you look around your life and you see problems and then you're like, I could solve that and I'll start a thing, you know, I'll start a company based on that. And I did that with Rote, which was for grant writing. I was never a grant writer, but I wrote a lot of grants. And so I was like, this thing needs to exist. But it had been, I don't know, 7 years since I had worked in a nonprofit and written a single grant. So I don't know if that problem was still the problem. Like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't close enough to it at that point. And there was a lot I just didn't know. I had also started a company years ago that was for music students. And when I was a music student, 20 something years ago, I had this problem. But I found out after I started this company and like produced all these products for music students, now kids use iPads in their, it was a product for music theory class. And it was for like taking notes in music theory class. It was very stupid. Anyway, it was a physical product. And at some point, this guy who like runs the university music program, he was like, just FYI, kids use iPads now. They don't even use paper for taking notes. I was like,
oh no. Yeah, I think maybe I would change this one to say solve a problem that you actually are living. Not that you live.
Yeah.
Like it could be in the past, like to your point. Like if that was the case, then Rote would still be like top of mind for you. It's like, oh man, we gotta fix this. This sucks right now. This sucks now, today. So maybe that's the only thing I would change here.
Yeah, I think there's also Arvid. Do you know Arvid Kahl? You know that guy? Okay, so he talks a lot about startup stuff. He's kind of in the indie hacker kind of scene. And he wrote a book called, well, I can't remember it, but it was something about like the embedded entrepreneur, I think is what it was called. The embedded entrepreneur. And it was about marketing if I'm remembering this right, it was about marketing your product by participating in the community that you're trying to sell to. Not necessarily not as a salesperson, but like organically participating and being sort of a known person or something like that. It's been years since I read it. But I was reading that while I was trying to launch Rote, and I was thinking like, I'm not in this community at all. Like every person who I'm going to try to market to, I have to research them, find them, reach out to them, get them to respond to me, then somehow get on a call with that. I mean, it was just like so many steps between me and my target audience. Whereas if it was a problem I was having, like if I were going to sell something to Bubble developers, like everyone I know is a Bubble developer,
exactly.
like
you're
it'd be a lot
into
easier.
That community. We know where they are. We know what they want to hear. Like
I know what the problems are. Yeah.
Yeah. What you don't know is, yeah, that's definitely true. Okay. So the only other thing that he says here is that, like the argument to the contrary is like, outsiders sometimes make the best founders because they aren't jaded by long-held beliefs. But then he also goes on to say, but they'll bet 9 times out of 10 you're better served by deeply understanding your space, which is kind of like what you just said, right? So I think that's right. I would never go up against a problem that I didn't either myself had or I really, 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 really deeply understood the problem. Just because something sounds like I'm not going to build like what do you call it? Like a crypto wallet, because I think the current crypto wallet stuff, like I know nothing about that. Right. Like I'd have to be really interested in that thing. Okay, this one got me because this is exactly what I did. Don't quit your day job without real validation. This is like the stupidest decision that I think I've made in my life. Again, going back, I don't think that I don't regret it now. I regretted it when I did it, but I don't regret it now. The Wizard, I would launch an analog product or a Wizard behind the curtain service minimally while still employed.
Yeah.
Ideally, I wouldn't make the leap until my side gig was actually cash flowing to de-risk the leap. This is probably the smartest thing that I read in this whole article. Yeah. There is some weird thing, and I maybe this is just the way that I do things, but it wasn't like, why didn't I just stay at my job? I would have had more runway to test this idea. I didn't need to quit. I did not need to quit.
So why did you quit? You don't know?
I just had it. I had it in my head that like this was the way to do a startup. I read some stupid shit on like the Dream Machine about like launch your business, go all in. You're gonna have to leap. I read the wrong shit and I believed it.
Well, you probably wanted to believe it. It's romantic.
I did.
Yeah.
It is. All of these things that like that were just so wrong in hindsight. Not wrong, but just like one small snippet of the truth. That I quit my job without any real validation. I could have still been doing that startup idea now, 2 year, like 7 years in the making, and maybe it would have morphed into something that I am actually interested in.
Right.
I don't know, but because I think there was fear here. So the fear was, one, the company will get wind of what I'm doing. They'll try to steal my idea, like my company. I have to put a patent on it because someone will steal the idea.
Did you get a patent?
I tried. I wasted about like $7 or $8 grand on a fucking patent lawyer. Yeah, what an asshole, right? So
I tried to do that actually.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, a very real thing. I think first time founders have this, someone is going to steal my idea.
Oh my God. Like, and you make everyone sign an NDA and all.
Yes, like before you'll even talk to them about it. Like I can't even talk to you about this idea.
My printer signed an NDA. She was like, "Oh my God, you dork. You dork." Well,
this idea is so good.
Yeah.
How would someone not steal this idea? It's so fucking good. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. I think everyone feels that at some point when they feel like they have a novel idea.
Now, I will say about this, okay, don't quit your day job, that kind of thing. I remember like I was working on Rote part-time and just thinking like, this takes so much time. At the rate I'm going, I can spend a couple hours a night on it. Then I don't have a social life and my relationship suffers, right? And like I put my life on hold so that I can have a job or do my freelance work and work on this at night. And it just will take years for it to get any traction because I can't work on it enough. Right. So, like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like,
yeah,
it's too much work to just do in the evenings.
Yeah, that's another good one. Really, like time. That was a factor also. Being a little less dramatic about the reasons that I did this was like, yeah, that was one of them too. It's like maybe I can do it faster if I don't have to focus on a day job for this. But you're taking such a risk. It's such a big jump that it's like there's a 99% that this is going to fail. Statistically, this is not a smart decision.
Well, in my story that I have about Rote, it's that I couldn't go full time on it. And that's why it never took off because I never was able to put, like, I looked into, like, should I apply for some like angel investments or something like that, like just to be able to say, okay, all I'm going to spend that money on is my salary for 1 year. Give it a real go for 1 year. And then if it has no traction and nobody's using it or whatever, then I just like fold it, right? And then I'm done. But I never gave it that. And I think that's why I still have this thing open, is because I still kind of feel like, but what if I did go in full time? What if I did that? What if I just gave it a go? I will never know because at this point, I'm just not willing to.
That's different, right? Because I feel like I went all in and decided, nah, this ain't for me. Done. I think you're in your situation. You're saying like I didn't really give it my all. I could have done
100%. I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know.
Life is too distracting if you're doing other stuff.
What else we got here? No part-time. We're only on number 4. There's like 20 of these things. How deep we want to go?
No, let's see. Okay, so oops, I removed it. So what is number 4? No part-time co-founders. We can skip this one, I think.
You don't care?
Because neither of us had co-founders, right?
Right.
Cash or real usage is the best indicator of traction. I think this is a really important one. This is where he talks about that verbal commitments from customers, people saying like, what a great idea. And also raising money made him feel like there was traction when it actually wasn't traction. I don't know that much needs to be said about that. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think that like the headline is enough. It kind of says it all. If people are paying you for your product, then you have traction, I think. And like
enough. If enough people, I don't know. I mean, what's enough, right? What's the number? But it can't just be like 3 people are paying. You can lie to yourself easy. I definitely did that with Rote. I was like, I have 6 customers. It's happening, Or it's like 6 customers, really,
A quick note on validating with a free product. In the hunt for validation, you'll often hear that you shouldn't give your product away for free. My take is that it can be a powerful test. If you offer it for free and people use it and love it, it's a great signal. Now, your job is to see if they'll pay. Yeah, for sure. Again, I don't know how much there is to say on this one.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Resist raising money for as long as possible. I think I agree with this, but I don't have a whole lot to say about it, I don't think.
It was interesting that he talks about how time consuming it was, and it can add immense pressure. This is at the bottom there, which is, I never really thought about how much time it takes. But the pressure, I remember going like, I don't know what I'm doing. And if I raised money and I had investors like asking me questions and I had to like report stuff to them, like I'm going to look like a fool every day because I don't know anything. And so that was why I didn't really even pursue it, because I just thought, well, I don't want to look like an idiot. And I don't want to fuck it up, like I'll fuck it up.
The pressure of being on, having to report out to somebody versus just like, this can take as long as I want it to. and
Right.
I love this problem and I really want to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather be in the latter scenario. Okay, you actually just said this one. Put a clock on your efforts. I'm giving this 12 to 8 months if I haven't found meaningful traction. Meaningful is like the spot where you lie to yourself here. What is meaningful,
Yep.
right? 12 to 18 months. If I haven't found meaningful traction, there's a chance we'll shut this down. How does that make you feel? And even like if you're raising, you tell the investors that.
Yeah,
Is
that
what
was
you
an
suggest
interesting
there.
point that I hadn't heard. I hadn't heard. I don't know how you talk to investors. I don't know. Like I've talked to a few startup founders who are like, yeah, they give us the money and then we send them a report every month, but like we're not asking them for advice. They're not telling us what to do. It's a very sort of transactional kind of thing, and they're just kind of letting us do our thing, right? And then there are
Right?
some, oh, hey Ray, hi. Then there are some who like I've talked to who like really they wanted investors who had like experience and would have advice and would be able to guide them and stuff like that. So I feel like if you have a product that you can raise money on, like the choice of your investor will change the energy that it takes from you and the type of pressure that it puts on you.
No doubt.
Seems like
Um,
anyway.
I think that putting the clock on your efforts is super important.
Yeah.
And like define what meaningful is at the beginning of that too.
Yeah, write it down so you
10,000
can't like
users,
lie to yourself.
a revenue goal, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever you decide at the beginning, take that to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And 12 to 8 months seems even like a long time to me. 12 to 18 months. Like if you're really solving a problem, I feel like you can get to whatever your goal is faster than that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
surely you can. There's always exceptions to things, but if you're not working on it full time, I don't know. That seems pretty ambitious.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's also what he hasn't really talked about in here yet, maybe, is like the cost to your relationships. Like if you
Mm.
are married or have a partner that you live with, or even that you don't live with, like their life is going to be seriously impacted by the time that you spend on this idea and, how successful or not it is. And, you're going to spend money on it. You're going to spend the time you would spend with them or your kids or whatever. And so the time limit, I think, is, particularly important if you have a partner.
Or family, yeah, absolutely. Time away from your
Mhm.
kids, time away from your family.
Yep.
Like the time, like at least you could say, at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, hey, I'm gonna do this for 12 months, and I don't know if it has to suck. It can be fun and exciting too, but
Yeah.
like I'm gonna sacrifice these things for 12 months to try this new
Yeah.
idea that I have, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Do you know what the hell's his name? He has a podcast called Money for Couples. It used to be called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which is just like the goofiest name. But
I know that. I
yeah,
don't know why I know that, but I know
Ramit
that.
Sethi is his name. Ramit
Yes,
Sethi.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a fantastic podcast. Jeremy and I listen to it when we're like on road trips. Always, that's like our little routine.
Was
And
it a book? I Will
yeah, there
Teach
was
You
a
to Be
book.
Rich. There was
Yeah,
a
he
book.
has a
I think I read the
book.
book.
And like, okay, yeah, it's good. It's good. And the podcast is basically like counseling for couples, but it's about money stuff. I feel like I might have told you about this before or talked about it on here, but it's really, really good. And there was an episode with a guy who was like a startup founder. I don't know if it was a tech startup. I think it was like bio something or whatever. And for like 6 years, he had been telling his wife, I'm going to give it 3 more months. And it just kept going. 3 more months. It's 3 more months. If it's not, then I'll shut it down. And she was like, it's been this for 6 years or however long, years, right? And that's where it's just sort of like moving the goalpost. And this woman had put her life on hold. Like, I think she hadn't even like had a baby because they didn't have the money because he was, tied up in this work, whatever. And, he just kept giving her that line. And it was so sad. It was so, so sad. And I just thought, wow, like that could be the price of entrepreneurship, is that sort of, potentially like broken promises and you know, a whole other person putting their life on hold for your dream.
I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to
Yeah.
put that in. I'm not putting that on somebody else. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not built for that. I'm really not.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. It's like, that is good. I'm good with that.
Well, and it could be that your partner is into it, you know, like it's not like I'm saying if you're married or whatever, you shouldn't do, I don't fucking know, do whatever you want. Right. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's just the consideration of your person. If you have, you know, a partner, like they have to be a part of that decision, all of these decisions, I think.
Very true. All right. A few of these other things here. Confirm a reliable channel to your ICP exists. Start with a small but effective feature set, not a platform. Optimize short sale. Like all these are, I don't know, they seem kind of obvious. And I don't know what I want to say about this. Is there any other one of these things that you feel strongly about?
Let me put it on the thing. Prioritize known analog behavior. Sure.
17.
What's his bottom line?
Bottom line. Let's skip to the bottom line. I want to end by saying that startups are an amazing thing. They are a core part of our economy and in many ways the American dream. On a personal level, some of those 7.5 years were the best of my life. When you truly locked in on solving a problem, you're passionate about team members and enjoying being around. The process can be insanely fun. Okay, I believe that.
Yeah, he makes the point, I think, in the LinkedIn post that like he wouldn't trade it. He doesn't regret it, but there was a cost to it, right? So he's not saying like this was terrible and I hated everything and you know whatever. But this is a really interesting, like, what are these questions? These are questions to ask yourself. At what point is he saying? Every 6 months. Okay, interesting. Is this still serving me and my family? Am I still having fun? Am I enjoying my life and the work I'm doing? Good questions. Are we being objectively honest about our traction and the validity of this data? That third one is so interesting because like, if you are not being honest, you're not going to be honest with this question, you know?
Yeah, right. It's like, for any of this stuff here.
Right. That's true. Is there a real upside here? Yeah, it's true. If you just are like have blinders on, you're not going to answer any of these questions honestly.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, is there a way to make this objective, you know?
I think if the only way is if you have someone else like your partner telling you like, hey, let's go through these questions and don't bullshit me. You know, like there's no way to do this on your own. You have the like everyone's gonna have blinders on for something that they believe in or they sunk their thing in. And it'll always feel like, oh man, if I just give it another 3 months, this could happen.
Yeah.
What are my alternatives and what is the real cost of continuing down this path?
That is the question, I think.
These are hard questions to answer when you're in the shit, when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I don't think he talked about was like the sort of when you shut something down, admitting failure, like that's really difficult for some people. Some people, it's no big deal. They're like, well, okay, I failed that thing, you know, whatever. Fail a lot of things. Yeah, I tried it. No shame. But like for someone like me, my first business that I started, when it failed, I was so devastated and I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed. And the funny thing is, nobody knew I hadn't talked about it. I wasn't like publicly out there doing this thing. I think I had posted once this was like back Facebook days, right? Once on Facebook and, you know, like I had kind of enrolled and enlisted sort of some people from my past to help me kind of, I don't know, whatever. And when it failed, I just thought the whole world knew that I failed. And it was so big in my identity, I guess. And there was nothing you could say to convince me otherwise. And so it was really, really hard to shut it down and stop working on it, you know?
I had the same process. Absolutely. Yeah. I was super embarrassed when I stopped freelancing and when I, you know, that startup idea that I had, I don't know if I was that embarrassed, but like saying like, I'm not going to work for myself anymore was a hard thing for me just because I tied that to my identity. Yeah. I am self-employed. I made that such a part of my, and instead of saying the real thing, what it was, it's something I'm doing. instead of who I am,
Yeah.
that fucked me up for years. That like really messed with my head.
You know what's funny is there was a day when I was on Twitter. This was like early when I started learning Bubble, and I like joined a couple of like these big programs and whatever. And I was bopping around Twitter, and I noticed this guy that I had met in some, I don't know, networking thing, who I thought was kind of a tool, right? And I noticed that he was all of a sudden had like founder in his bio, founder, comma, and then some company. And I was like, oh, you could just call yourself a founder.
Yeah.
Like you could just take this. Like, nobody gives you that, right? This isn't something that someone goes and IW founder, you know, congratulations. And now everybody will know that you could just say it. And so like, I don't know what the point of what I'm saying is, other than like I think the impulse to think of yourself as a founder in this space is so strong. There's some cachet in it, I guess. But I think then once you've kind of been in the world, you're like, 90% of these companies fail. So sure, you're a founder. Okay.
It's like a job title. It's like no one cares but you. Like you're the only one that cares.
Yeah. I mean,
no one else really cares.
Like if you have gone through the life cycle of a company and like start to finish and whatever, there is a lot to be proud of there, and a lot of learning and a lot of wisdom that's probably come out of that. So I'm not saying it's a nothing thing. I fully respect it, and I do think that there's like a lot of really interesting, conversations and things that like you're going to move through life differently after having an experience like that. It's a big experience, I think, and probably will be better for it, is a guess. Most people. Anyway.
I agree. I think the only thing that I'd push back on is like what your estimation of what other people think of what you're doing is way higher than it actually is. Yes. In anything that you do, they're worried about their own shit. No one is looking at you. Oh, I can't wait for John to fail. He's not going to be a founder in 6 months.
No one gives a shit. Yeah, nobody cares. No one cares. Yeah. No, I think about that right now. Even like if I end up taking a full-time job, I'm like, it feels like people will have an opinion about that. And I think that's just not true. I think it's just not true. But you're the star of your own story, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot to stop on.
Let's stop it. Me being the star.
That's a good place.
Coming up next week, I haven't told you this yet, John, but Bubble Tour is happening in Paris and London, which I think you know that, but I'm going to both of them, which means I'm on an airplane during this time. So I can't do a live stream next week. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, everybody, to disappoint you all.
We'll figure it out. But
also, I'll report back the following week on how great it was to see everybody at Bubble Tour.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Signing
off.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.